A waitress danced with a lonely disabled boy at a Mafia wedding, not knowing his father, the city's most dangerous crime boss, was watching from the doorway. The boy smiled for the first time in years, and his father decided right then, she belonged to them now, whether she wanted to or not. Emma's hands trembled as she balanced the champagne tray. 3 months waiting tables, and she'd never seen anything like this. The Catalina Hotel ballroom dripped with money, chandeliers the size of cars, white roses covering every surface, men in suits that cost more than her rent. This wasn't just any wedding. Everyone in Chicago knew the Russo family didn't throw parties. They threw warnings. Keep your head down, smile, don't make eye contact, her supervisor Maria had warned. These aren't regular people. Emma had nodded, but she didn't fully understand. Not until she saw the guns. Subtle bulges under expensive jackets. Men stationed at every exit. The bride and groom looked more like a business merger than love. She wove through the crowd, serving drinks, invisible. That's what she was good at, being invisible. 23 years old, working 3 jobs to pay off her brother's mistakes, too tired to dream anymore. Then she heard it. A small, broken sound. Like a bird with a damaged wing. Emma turned. In the corner, near the towering wedding cake, sat a boy. Maybe 7 or 8 years old. He wore a tiny black suit that matched the men around him, but his pants revealed metal leg braces. His dark hair fell over his eyes as he stared at the floor. Children ran past him, laughing, chasing each other between tables. Not one stopped. Not one looked at him. The boy's small fingers gripped the chair arms, and Emma saw something that made her chest ache. He was trying not to cry. Mind your business, she told herself. You're here to work. But her feet moved anyway. Hey there, Emma said softly, kneeling beside his chair. You okay? The boy's head snapped up. His eyes were the strangest color, pale gray, like winter clouds. They widened in surprise, as if no one had spoken to him in years. His voice was barely a whisper. I can't dance. Emma's heart cracked. The band was playing something jazzy and upbeat. All around them, people twirled and laughed. And this little boy sat alone in his prison of metal and loneliness. Says who? Emma grinned. I bet you can. My legs don't work right, he looked down at the braces. Good thing dancing isn't just about legs, Emma stood and held out her hand. It's about the music. The feeling. Trust me. The boy stared at her hand like it was a miracle. Slowly, carefully, he reached out. His fingers were so small in hers. Emma helped him stand. He wobbled, gripping her hands tight. I've got you, she promised. The music swelled, a slower song now. Something gentle. Emma didn't know what made her do it. Maybe it was the exhaustion, the way she'd felt invisible her whole life, the way this boy looked exactly how she felt inside. She began to sway, holding his hands, letting him lean on her. At first he was stiff, terrified. Then something shifted. His mouth twitched. A smile, small and unsure, crept across his face. That's it. Emma laughed. You're dancing. She spun him gently, supporting his weight. The boy's smile grew. He laughed, a real, honest laugh that rang out like bells. Emma spun with him, forgetting the crowd, forgetting the guns and the danger. For one moment, they were just 2 people choosing joy. The music faded. The room fell silent. Emma looked up. Every single person had stopped talking. Hundreds of eyes stared at them. Her stomach dropped. What did I do? Then the crowd parted. A man walked through. Not walked, commanded. Each step was deliberate, powerful. He wore all black, suit, shirt, even his tie. His face could have been carved from stone, sharp and cold. Dark hair slicked back. A scar ran from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone. But it was his eyes that made Emma's blood freeze. The same pale gray as the boy's. Only these eyes held no innocence. They held violence.
Power. Death.
Adrian Russo. Even Emma, who avoided the news, knew that name. The man who controlled half of Chicago's underworld. The ghost who made people disappear. The king everyone feared. He stopped 3 feet away. The air felt vacuum-sealed. Emma couldn't breathe. Adrian's cold gaze moved from her to the boy. The boy who was still holding Emma's hands, still smiling, still glowing with happiness she'd given him. "Papa," the boy gasped. "Papa," I danced. Something flickered across Adrian's face, so fast Emma almost missed it. The stone cracked. Just for a heartbeat. His eyes softened, looking at his son. Then they snapped back to Emma. Ice returned. "Who are you?" His voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. "Hi, Emma. I work here. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out." "She made me happy, Papa," the boy whispered, squeezing Emma's fingers. "She didn't leave me alone." Adrian's jaw tightened. He stared at Emma for what felt like hours.
She was going to die.
She was sure of it. She'd touched a mafia boss's son without permission. She'd crossed an invisible line she didn't even know existed. Then Adrian turned to the dozen men in black suits standing nearby. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. "From now on, she stays with him." Emma blinked. "What?" "You heard me." Adrian's eyes never left hers. "My son hasn't smiled since his mother died 2 years ago. You made him happy. That means you don't leave. But I have a job, a life." "Not anymore." Adrian stepped closer. Emma could smell his cologne. Expensive, dark. "You belong to my son now. And what belongs to him belongs to me." The boy beamed up at Emma, unaware of the chains being forged. "You're staying? Really?" Emma looked into those hopeful gray eyes. Then at Adrian's commanding, unbreakable stare. She'd danced with the disabled boy. She had known his mafia boss father was watching. Now she'd never leave. 3 days. That's how long Emma had been living in the Russo mansion. 3 days since her entire life had been yanked out from under her. The estate was massive, 20 rooms, marble floors, a garden that looked like something from a movie. Emma had her own bedroom bigger than her old apartment. The boy, whose name was Luca, hadn't left her side except to sleep. But it wasn't a dream. It was a cage made of gold. "Miss Emma, time for breakfast," said Teresa, the elderly housekeeper who'd been assigned to her. Kind eyes, but loyal to Adrian first. Emma followed her downstairs, where Luca sat at a dining table long enough to seat 20. His face lit up when he saw her. "Emma, look." He pointed to his braces. "Papa says the doctor might let me try new ones soon." "That's wonderful, Luca." Emma sat beside him, forcing a smile. She loved this kid, genuinely. But she couldn't breathe here. Adrian wasn't at breakfast. He never was. Emma had barely seen him since that night. Just glimpses, him leaving in black cars, returning late, always surrounded by dangerous-looking men. After breakfast, while Luca did schoolwork with his tutor, Emma finally got a moment alone. She pulled out her phone, the one Adrian's men had updated for her. Probably tracked. Probably monitored. 17 missed calls from her brother, Ethan. Her stomach twisted. Ethan, 21 years old, and allergic to responsibility. She'd been supporting him since their parents died, working herself to dust while he made promises he never kept. She dialed. He answered on the first ring. "Emma, Jesus Christ, where have you been?" "I've been calling." "I'm fine. I'm just working a new job." "Listen, I need your help." His voice was shaking. "I'm in trouble. Real trouble." Emma closed her eyes. "What did you do, Ethan?" "I borrowed money for an investment that was supposed to pay off big, but it fell through, and now these guys are saying I owe 50 grand and $50,000? Emma's voice cracked. "Are you insane? They're threatening me, Em. These aren't normal loan sharks. They're connected. They said if I don't pay by Friday they'll..." He choked on the words. "Who are they?" Silence.
Ethan.
"Who did you borrow from?" "The Russo family." Emma's blood turned to ice. "I didn't know." Ethan rushed on. "I swear, I thought it was just some guy named Marco who said he could help." I didn't realize until yesterday when they showed up at my apartment. The phone was ripped from Emma's hand.
She spun.
Adrian stood behind her, holding her phone, his face unreadable. How long had he been there? She hadn't heard a single footstep. Adrian, He held up one finger. Silence. Then he raised the phone to his ear. Ethan Clark, Adrian said, his voice calm.
Terrifying.
This is Adrian Russo. Emma heard her brother's panicked breathing through the speaker. You borrowed $50,000 from my organization. You signed papers. You knew the terms. Please, I can get the money, I just need. You have a sister. Emma Clark. Don't hurt her. This has nothing to do with. She's standing right here, Adrian's gray eyes locked on Emma. She's been living in my home for 3 days, taking care of my son. The silence on the other end was deafening. You want to know something interesting, Ethan? Adrian continued. My men were going to break your legs tomorrow. Standard procedure. But now I'm curious. Did you know your sister was here? Did you send her to that wedding?
What? No.
I didn't. Adrian hung up. He tossed the phone onto a nearby table. Emma's voice shook. I didn't know. I swear to God. I had no idea he... I believe you. Adrian stepped closer. Emma pressed against the wall. Your face when I walked in just now. Pure shock. You can't fake that. Please, tears burned Emma's eyes. He's an idiot, but he's my brother. I'll pay you back. I'll work, $50,000, Adrian interrupted. How long would that take you? 10 years? 20. He tilted his head. You make minimum wage plus tips. Even if you worked every day for the next decade, you couldn't pay me back. Emma's knees went weak. Then what do you want? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. Your brother's debt means nothing to me. What? 50,000, Adrian shrugged. I spend that on wine. It's nothing. Then why? My son smiled because of you. Adrian's voice dropped, dangerous and soft. For 2 years, I watched him disappear. Watched the light die in his eyes. I hired therapists, specialists, bought him everything. Nothing worked. Then you danced with him for 5 minutes, and he laughed. That is the only debt I care about. Emma's heart hammered. I don't understand. Your brother owes me money. You owe me something far more valuable. Adrian leaned in, his scarred face inches from hers. You gave my son hope.
So you don't get to leave.
You don't get to walk away. Your brother's debt?
Paid. Erased. But you?
You stay. That's not fair. Fair. Adrian's laugh was cold. You think this world is fair? Your brother gambled with my money. You danced with my son. Now you both belong to me. The only difference is, I'm letting him live. Emma's breath caught. You'd kill him? If you run, yes, Adrian straightened. If you try to leave Luca, I'll consider it breaking our deal. And when deals are broken in my world, people pay in blood. He walked to the door, then paused. Marco will bring your brother here tonight. He'll apologize to you for his stupidity. Then you'll both understand exactly where you stand. The door closed. Emma slid down the wall, shaking. She wasn't here because of her brother's debt. She was here because a lonely boy had smiled, and his father had decided she was valuable. She belonged to Adrian Russo now, and there was no way out. Marco Vitali had been Adrian's right hand for 15 years. He'd helped bury bodies, broker deals, and survive 3 attempted coups. He'd earned the right to speak freely. But even he chose his words carefully. She's a plant, Marco said, standing in Adrian's office at midnight. Has to be. Adrian didn't look up from the contracts on his desk. Explain. Think about it, Marco paced. A waitress nobody's heard of suddenly appears at the wedding, approaches your son, the one person you'd kill for, and makes him smile? Then we discover her brother owes us money? It's too convenient. You think the Italians sent her? Adrian's voice was flat. Or the Russians. Or the Irish. Take your pick, Marco leaned on the desk. Everyone knows you've been different since Maria died. They see Luca as your weakness. What better way to get close than through a pretty girl with a sob story? Adrian's jaw tightened at his dead wife's name. I had her background checked. Emma Clark. Parents died in a car accident 4 years ago. She's been working minimum wage jobs ever since, supporting her waste of a brother. No criminal record. No connections to any families. That's exactly what a plant would look like, Marco insisted.
Clean.
Innocent. Sympathetic. She didn't approach me. She approached my son. Even smarter. She knew you'd notice. Knew you'd be impressed by someone showing kindness to the disabled kid everyone ignores, Marco's voice softened. Adrian, I love that boy too. But you're making decisions with your heart, not your head. That's dangerous. Adrian finally looked up. His gray eyes were cold. Are you questioning my judgment? I'm protecting you, Marco. Didn't flinch. Watch her. Really watch her.
If I'm wrong, fine.
But if I'm right, and she gets close enough to hurt Luca, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. Adrian stared at him for a long moment, then nodded once.
I'll watch.
For the next 2 days, Adrian became a ghost in his own home. He watched Emma teach Luca card games in the sunroom, watched her help him with physical therapy exercises, patient and encouraging, watched her read to him before bed, doing funny voices that made the boy giggle. He looked for tells, nervous glances, suspicious phone calls, any sign she was reporting to someone. There was nothing. Emma was exactly what she appeared to be, a tired young woman who genuinely cared about his son. She asked for nothing, never tried to see Adrian alone, never asked questions about his business. If she was a plant, she was the best actress he'd ever seen. But Marco's words haunted him. You're making decisions with your heart, not your head. On the third night, Adrian stood in the hallway outside Luca's bedroom at 2 a.m. He'd heard something.
A cry.
He opened the door quietly. Luca was thrashing in bed, tangled in sheets, tears streaming down his face. Mama, don't go. The nightmares. They'd been constant after Maria died, but had finally started to fade. Now they were back. Adrian moved toward the bed, but stopped. Emma was already there. She must have heard from her room next door. She wore an oversized t-shirt and pajama pants, her dark hair messy from sleep. She sat on the edge of Luca's bed, pulling him into her arms. Sure, it's okay. I'm here. You're safe. She left me. Luca sobbed into her shoulder. Mama left, and she's not coming back. I know, sweetheart. I know. Emma rocked him gently. Her own eyes were wet. Losing someone you love is the hardest thing in the world. Everyone leaves. Luca's voice broke Adrian's heart. Everyone always leaves. Look at me. Emma pulled back, cupping his tear-stained face. I'm right here, right next door. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Luca's voice was tiny, desperate. I promise. But what if Papa makes you go? What if you want to leave? Emma hesitated. Adrian saw the flash of pain cross her face, the reminder that she was here against her will. But when she spoke, her voice was steady. Your papa brought me here for you. And you know what? I'm glad he did. Because I get to spend time with the coolest kid I've ever met. Really? Really? Emma smiled through her tears. You're brave and funny and so smart. I'm lucky I get to be your friend. Luca wrapped his small arms around her neck, clinging like she was the only thing keeping him from drowning. Don't let them make you leave. Please, Emma. Please. I won't leave you, Emma whispered. I promise. Adrian watched his son finally relax, his breathing evening out as Emma continued to hold him. She stroked his hair, humming softly, the same lullaby Maria used to sing. How did she know that song? As if sensing his presence, Emma looked up. Her eyes met Adrian's in the darkness. For a moment, neither moved. Then Emma carefully laid Luca back down, tucking the blankets around him. She stood and walked to the doorway where Adrian waited. He has them every few weeks, Adrian said quietly. The nightmares. I understand. Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. I had them too, after my parents died. They stood in the hallway, the space between them charged with unspoken things. The lullaby, Adrian said. How did you know it? Emma blinked, surprised. I didn't know it was special. My mom used to sing it. It just felt right. Adrian studied her face, looking for deception, finding only exhaustion and genuine care. He's already attached to you, Adrian said. If you betray that, I won't. Emma's eyes flashed with sudden fire. I didn't ask to be here, but I would never hurt that little boy. Never. Adrian believed her. God help him, he believed her. But Marco's warning echoed. That's exactly what a plant would do. Get some sleep, Adrian said, his voice colder than he felt. Emma nodded and disappeared into her room. Adrian returned to Luca's doorway. His son slept peacefully now, one hand clutching the blanket Emma had tucked around him. Adrian had built an empire on trusting no one, on assuming everyone wanted something. But watching his son smile for the first time in 2 years had cracked something inside him. And that, he realized, was exactly what made Emma dangerous. Whether she meant to be or not. The back room of Johnny's restaurant smelled like cigar smoke and expensive whiskey. 4 men sat around a table, but only one mattered. Vincent Calabrese, head of the Italian faction that had been fighting the Russo family for territory for 20 years. 60 years old, silver-haired, and hungry for blood. Tell me again, Vincent said, swirling his whiskey. Slowly, Tony, his youngest soldier, leaned forward eagerly. My cousin works at the Catalina Hotel. The wedding 3 weeks ago? Russo showed up, saw some waitress dancing with his crippled kid, and lost his mind. Told his men she stays with the boy. She's been living at the estate ever since. A waitress, Vincent's lips curled. Adrian Russo took in a random waitress. Not just took her in, boss. Word is she's the only person besides the housekeeper allowed near the kid. Russo's got her guarded like she's made of gold. Sal, Vincent's oldest advisor, chuckled darkly. The great Adrian Russo finally found a soft spot. We already knew the kid was his weakness, Tony added. But now there's 2 of them. And the girl? She's nobody. No training, no protection, no family except a degenerate brother. Vincent set down his glass with deliberate care. For 2 decades, Adrian Russo had been untouchable. The man was a ghost, no weaknesses, no emotions, no mistakes. After his wife died, he'd become even worse. A machine that crushed anyone who challenged him. But machines didn't take in waitresses. Machines didn't let strangers near their children. Men did. Men with feelings. Men who could bleed. What do we know about the girl? Vincent asked. Tony slid a folder across the table. Emma Clark, 23. Parents died 4 years ago. Works 3 jobs. Brother's a gambling addict who owes Russo money. That's probably how she ended up there. Vincent flipped through the photos. Emma carrying groceries. Emma walking with Luca in the garden. Emma laughing at something the boy said. She was pretty. Girl next door pretty. The kind of face that made men want to protect her. The kid loves her, Tony continued. Can't go an hour without her. And Russo? My cousin says he watches her. Like really watches her. Nobody's seen him care about anything since his wife died. Interesting, Vincent studied a photo of Emma helping Luca with his leg braces. So we have a ruthless mafia boss who suddenly has 2 people he can't afford to lose. We could grab the girl, Sal suggested. Demand ransom. Territory. Whatever we want. No, Vincent's voice was sharp. You grab her, Russo burns the city down looking for her. He'll kill every Italian from here to New York. Then what's the play? Vincent smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. We make him watch them die. The room went silent. The annual gala, Vincent continued, standing. 2 weeks from now. Every family in Chicago will be there. Neutral ground. Russo always attends, it's expected. Shows weakness if he doesn't. You think he'll bring them? Tony asked. He has to. The gala's at the Sinclair Hotel. 5-star security. Cameras everywhere. Neutral territory. It's the safest place in the city. Russo won't leave the kid home for 6 hours, and the kid won't go without the girl. Vincent's eyes gleamed. He'll bring them. His pride demands it. How do we get past security? We don't attack the gala itself. Too many witnesses, too many cameras. We wait until they leave. The parking garage. Minimal cameras. Lots of blind spots. Vincent pointed at the photos. We take the kid. Cleanly. Professionally. And we make sure Russo knows exactly who has him. Sal frowned. That's a death sentence. Russo will do exactly what we want. Vincent's voice was cold. Because we'll have his son. And if he wants the boy back alive, he'll sign over the South Side territory. All of it. And if he refuses, then we kill the kid in front of him. Vincent shrugged. Either way, Adrian Russo breaks. The city sees him weak. His men lose faith. The empire crumbles. What about the girl?
Tony asked.
Vincent looked at Emma's photo again. So innocent. So unaware of the storm coming for her. She's collateral damage. If she's with the kid, she comes too. If she tries to play hero, he made a gun with his fingers. Bang. The men around the table nodded. This was the opening they'd waited years for. Adrian Russo had finally made a mistake. He'd let people close. He'd shown he could care. And in their world, caring was the same as bleeding. 2 weeks, Vincent said, raising his glass. In 2 weeks, we end the Russo Empire. 400 miles away, in a Detroit warehouse, another conversation was happening. You're sure about this? Dmitry Volkov, head of the Russian syndicate, asked his informant. Positive. Russo's got a new girl living with him. Some waitress. Got his men protecting her like she's the goddamn president. Dmitry laughed. Adrian Russo. Finally human after all. The Italians are already planning something. Word on the street is they're moving weapons, recruiting soldiers. Let them. Dmitry lit a cigarette. Let Calabrese make the first move. We'll watch. If Russo survives, he'll be weak.
Distracted.
That's when we strike. In Chicago, Adrian sat in his office reviewing security reports. His phone buzzed.
Marco.
We've got chatter, Marco said without preamble. The Italians are moving. Something big. When? Unknown. But they're talking about the gala in 2 weeks. Adrian's jaw tightened. The annual gala. The one public event he couldn't skip without looking weak. Increased security around Luca. And Emma. You're still bringing them? Marco's voice was incredulous. If the Italians are planning something. If I leave them home, I look weak. If I bring them to the most secure venue in the city, I look in control. Adrian's voice was steel. We go. But we go ready. He hung up and stared at the security monitors. One showed Emma reading to Luca in the library. The boy's head rested on her shoulder, peaceful and safe. Adrian had built his empire on being feared, on being untouchable. But Marco was right. He'd let people in. And now his enemies were circling like sharks who'd smelled blood in the water. The predators were coming. And they were coming for everything he couldn't afford to lose. The dress arrived 3 days before the gala. Emma stared at it hanging in her room. Deep emerald silk that probably cost more than 6 months of her old salary. A note was pinned to it in Adrian's sharp handwriting. Wear this. Stay visible. Stay safe. It's pretty. Luca bounced on her bed, excited. You look like a princess. I'll look ridiculous, Emma muttered. She'd never worn anything that expensive in her life. Papa picked it himself, Teresa said, smoothing the fabric. Took him an hour at the boutique. The man who can execute someone without blinking spent an hour choosing a dress. Emma's stomach flipped. Adrian had chosen this? For her. Why green? She asked. Teresa smiled knowingly. It was Mrs. Maria's favorite color. The next morning, Emma took Luca to his weekly appointment with Dr. Chen, the specialist who monitored his leg development. 2 of Adrian's men accompanied them, Frank and Joseph, both built like tanks. The clinic was across town. Emma sat in the back of the SUV with Luca, watching Chicago slide past the tinted windows. The boy chattered about the gala, about his new leg braces, about everything and nothing. Then Emma saw it. A black sedan, 3 cars back. It had been behind them since they left the estate. She told herself she was being paranoid. Adrian had enemies. Of course they'd be watched. But something felt wrong. The sedan stayed exactly 3 cars back, matching every turn. "Frank," Emma said, keeping her voice light so Luca wouldn't worry. "That black car. Has it been following us?" Frank glanced in the rearview mirror. "Which one?" 3 cars back. Black sedan. He watched for a moment, then shrugged. "Lots of black cars in Chicago, miss. It's been with us for 15 minutes. We've got routes we always take." Could be coincidence, but Frank radioed Joseph anyway. "Keep an eye out. Miss Emma thinks we got a tail." Joseph turned around, looked, then smirked. "She's jumpy. No one's dumb enough to follow Russo's cars in broad daylight." Emma bit her lip. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was seeing threats that weren't there. But the sedan followed them all the way to the clinic.
Dr. Chen's appointment went well.
Luca's legs were getting stronger, his mobility improving. Emma should have felt relieved, but her mind kept drifting to that black sedan. On the drive back, she saw it again. Same car. Same distance. "Frank, it's still there?" "Miss Emma, respectfully, you're not trained for this. If there was a real threat, we'd know." "But we've been doing this for 15 years, Joseph interrupted. "Trust us. You're safe." They arrived home without incident. Emma told herself to let it go. But that night at dinner, she couldn't shake the feeling. While Luca ate, she excused herself and went to find Marco. She found him in Adrian's office, reviewing papers. He looked up with barely concealed irritation. "What do you need, Miss Clark?" "Today, when we went to Dr. Chen's office, I think we were followed." Marco set down his pen. Frank and Joseph filed their report. Everything was fine.
There was a black sedan.
"It stayed behind us the entire way there and back." A black sedan. Marco's tone was condescending. "In Chicago. Shocking." "I'm serious. Something felt wrong." "You've been here a month. Frank and Joseph have been protecting this family for over a decade. Who do you think knows better what a real threat looks like?" Emma's hands clenched. "I'm just trying to keep Luca safe." "Are you?" Marco stood, walking around the desk. "Or are you trying to cause panic? Create chaos? Make us doubt our own security?" "What?" "No, You show up out of nowhere. Your brother owes us money. You get close to Luca. And now you're seeing threats where my trained men see nothing." Marco's eyes were hard. "Convenient. You think I'm making this up?" "I think you're either paranoid or you're playing a game I haven't figured out yet." Marco leaned against the desk. "But let me be clear. If you are working for someone, if you're trying to create an opening for an attack, I will find out. And when I do, not even Luca's tears will save you." Emma's breath caught. "I would never hurt that boy. Everyone says that. Right up until they do." Marco dismissed her with a wave. "The gala is in 3 days. Security is tripled. We've swept every inch of the venue. Unless you have actual evidence, photos, license plates, something concrete, stop wasting my time with feelings." Emma left the office shaking. She'd tried to warn them, tried to protect Luca. And Marco had turned it into more proof she couldn't be trusted. Adrian found her in the garden an hour later, sitting on a bench in the dark. "Marco told me about your conversation," he said. "Of course he did." Emma didn't look up. "Let me guess. You think I'm paranoid too? Or worse, you think I'm setting something up?" Adrian sat beside her. Not close, but present. "What did you see?" Emma described the sedan. The way it followed. The feeling in her gut that something was wrong. "Frank and Joseph saw nothing unusual," Adrian said. "I know." Marco made that very clear. Emma finally looked at him. "I'm not crazy. And I'm not working for anyone. I have a bad feeling about the gala." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. "In my line of work, feelings get people killed. We operate on facts. Evidence. So, you don't believe me either. I didn't say that. Adrian's voice was softer. You care about Luca. That much I know is real. But Marco's job is to question everything. Even you. Especially me. Can you blame him? Adrian turned to face her. You appeared in my life at the exact moment I was most vulnerable. My enemies know this. They know Luca is my weakness. And they think I'm a trap. Are you? Emma met his eyes. Those cold gray eyes that had seen so much death.
No.
I'm just a girl who danced with a lonely boy. That's all I've ever been. Adrian studied her face in the moonlight, looking for lies, finding only frustration and fear. The gala is the safest place in the city, he said finally. Neutral ground. Every camera, every guard, every exit monitored. If someone wanted to attack, they'd be insane to try it there. But what if? Stay close to Luca. That's all I ask. Adrian stood. If your instincts are right, we'll know soon enough. He walked away, leaving Emma alone in the dark. 3 days until the gala. 3 days until Emma's bad feeling would prove prophetic. But by then, it would be too late. The Sinclair Hotel ballroom looked like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, tables dressed in white and gold. Chicago's most powerful families mingled under the guise of charity and elegance, but everyone knew the truth. This was where territories were negotiated and alliances were forged without a single bullet fired. Neutral ground. Sacred ground. Emma stood near the bar in her emerald dress, one hand holding Luca's. The boy looked sharp in his tiny tuxedo, his leg braces hidden beneath perfectly tailored pants. He'd been so excited to come, to be included in his father's world. There's the mayor, Luca whispered, pointing. And Papa says that man owns half the buildings downtown. Adrian was 20 feet away, surrounded by men in expensive suits. Business. Always business. But every few minutes, his eyes would find Emma and Luca, checking, confirming they were safe. Marco stood near the exit, watching everything. His distrust of Emma was palpable, even from across the room. Miss Emma, can we get cake? Luca tugged her hand. After dinner, Emma promised. Her stomach was in knots. The bad feeling hadn't left. If anything, it had gotten worse. Everything looked perfect. Security everywhere. Cameras. Guards at every door. But something felt wrong. I need to use the bathroom, Luca said. Emma's grip tightened. I'll take you. They headed toward the hallway, Frank trailing behind them. The bathroom was just around the corner, away from the crowd.
As they walked, Emma noticed something.
The guard who should have been stationed at the service entrance was gone. Frank, Emma said quietly. Where's the guard? Frank glanced over. Probably restroom break. Stop worrying. But Emma's heart hammered. She hurried Luca along. Something was happening. She could feel it. They reached the bathroom. I'll wait right here, Emma said. Frank's with us. You're safe. Luca nodded and went inside. Emma counted seconds. 30. 45. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Screams erupted from the ballroom. What the? Frank reached for his radio. He never finished the sentence. A figure in a black mask appeared from the service entrance and fired. The shot was silenced, but Frank dropped, blood blooming across his shirt.
No.
Emma screamed. The bathroom door opened. Luca stood there, eyes wide with terror. Emma? She grabbed him, pulling him behind her as 3 more masked men poured into the hallway. They moved with military precision, weapons raised. The boy, one said. That's him. Grab him and go. Emma's mind went blank with primal fear. These men were here, for Luca. They'd planned this. Waited for them to be separated from the crowd, from Adrian. Run. Emma shoved Luca behind her toward the ballroom, but 2 gunmen blocked that exit. They were trapped. The leader, taller, broader, stepped forward. Give us the kid, and you walk away. This isn't your fight. No, Emma's voice shook but held firm. You're willing to die for him? The man laughed. You've known him a month. He's not worth your life. Emma thought about Luca's laugh, his nightmares, the way he held her hand, the way he looked at her that first night and said, "She made me happy, Papa." "You'll have to take me first," Emma said. "That can be arranged." The leader raised his gun, pointing it at Emma's head. Luca sobbed behind her, clutching her dress. "Don't hurt her. Please don't hurt her." "Emma, move." Luca tried to push past her. "Let them take me, just don't." "No." Emma grabbed him, pressing him against the wall behind her, using her body as a shield. Her whole body trembled, but she didn't move. "You're not taking him." The leader's finger moved to the trigger. Then the world exploded. Adrian appeared from nowhere, a shadow made of fury. He slammed into the leader, driving him into the wall with bone-crushing force. The gun clattered away. Suddenly the hallway was full of Adrian's men. Gunfire erupted, real, deafening shots that made Emma's ears ring. She dropped to the floor, covering Luca with her entire body, pressing him flat. "Stay down," she screamed over the chaos. "Don't look, don't move." The fight was brutal and fast. Adrian fought like a demon, all cold precision turned to savage violence. He broke the leader's arm with a sickening crack, then his jaw. When the man fell, Adrian pulled his own gun and fired twice into the other attackers. Marco appeared, his men flooding the hallway. The remaining masked gunmen tried to run but were cut down before they reached the service exit. 10 seconds. That's how long it took. When the gunfire stopped, the silence was deafening except for Emma's ragged breathing and Luca's muffled sobs. "Emma?" Adrian's voice cut through.
Luca?
Emma couldn't move.
Couldn't speak.
Her body had locked up, every muscle frozen in terror. She felt Adrian's hands on her shoulders, gentle despite their strength.
"Emma."
"Look at me." Slowly, she turned her head. Adrian knelt beside them, his suit splattered with blood, not his own. His face was savage, inhuman, the face of a man who'd just killed without hesitation. But his eyes were afraid. "Are you hurt?" His hands moved over her, checking for wounds. "Did they touch you?" I'm fine," Emma's voice cracked. She looked down. Luca was still beneath her, alive, safe, clinging to her like she was the only solid thing in the world.
"Papa."
Luca's voice was tiny. Adrian pulled them both up, then crushed Luca to his chest with one arm while keeping Emma close with the other. For a moment, they were a knot of 3 people trying not to fall apart. "You stayed," Adrian said, his voice rough as gravel. He looked at Emma with something she'd never seen before, wonder, gratitude, disbelief. "You could have run. You stayed." "Of course I stayed." Emma was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. "He's just a child." Adrian's jaw tightened. He looked at Marco. "I want every single person who planned this. Their families, their friends, everyone."
"Already on it," Marco said.
His eyes landed on Emma, and for the first time, there was no suspicion, only respect. Police sirens wailed outside. Adrian's men were already moving bodies, cleaning evidence, controlling the scene. In minutes, it would look like a robbery gone wrong. No one would know the truth. Adrian cupped Emma's face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You saved his life." They were going to take him. Tears finally broke free. "I couldn't let them take him. You threw yourself in front of bullets for my son." Emma didn't know what to say. She'd acted on instinct, on love she hadn't realized she felt. Luca still clung to both of them, his small body wedged between them. Adrian Russo had just massacred 5 men in a hotel hallway. But looking at his son alive, at Emma trembling but fierce, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. This woman was no longer just someone who made his son smile. She was family. And in his world, family was everything. The Russo estate was on lockdown. Every window, every door, every shadow crawled with armed men. Adrian wasn't taking chances. Emma sat in Luca's room, watching him sleep. The doctors had given him something to help with the nightmares, but Emma couldn't leave. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the gun pointed at her head, heard Luca's terrified sobs. You should rest, Adrian stood in the doorway. He'd changed from his blood-stained suit into black clothing that somehow made him look even more dangerous. I can't, Emma's voice was hoarse. Every time I try, I see them. What if they'd gotten him? What if I hadn't? But you did. Adrian moved into the room, sitting in the chair beside her. You put yourself between my son and bullets. No training, no weapons, just courage. It wasn't courage. It was instinct. Emma looked at Luca's peaceful face. I love him. I didn't realize how much until I thought I might lose him. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. The men who attacked were Calabrese soldiers. Vincent's been planning this for weeks. What happens now? Vincent is dead. So is everyone who helped him. Adrian's voice was flat, factual. Marco tracked them down within 6 hours. By morning, the Italian faction will have no leadership left. Emma should have been horrified. Instead, she felt relief. Good. Adrian's eyebrow raised. Good. They tried to hurt Luca. So yes, good. Emma met his eyes. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you family. Adrian's hand moved to cover hers. Family protects family. No matter the cost. His touch was warm, solid. Emma didn't pull away. Marco came to see me earlier, Emma said quietly.
He apologized.
Said he was wrong about me. He was. Adrian's thumb traced circles on her hand. You could have run when the lights went out. Saved yourself. Instead, you became a shield. I told you. I love him. I know. Adrian's gray eyes held hers. That's why what I'm about to do is non-negotiable. Emma's heart raced. What? Tomorrow, I'm calling a meeting. Every family head in Chicago. Every captain. Every soldier who matters. And I'm going to make something very clear. The next evening, the Russo estate's main hall filled with over 100 people. Emma recognized faces from the gala, people who controlled territories, ran operations, commanded fear and respect. She stood backstage with Luca, both dressed formally. The boy held her hand tightly, nervous about the crowd. Why are we here? Luca whispered. Your father wants to say something. On stage, Adrian stood at a podium, commanding absolute silence. When he spoke, his voice carried like thunder. Last night, the Calabrese family attacked my son at neutral ground. They violated sacred rules. They targeted a child. His eyes swept the crowd. Vincent Calabrese paid for that mistake with his life. So did everyone who helped him. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But something else happened last night. Adrian's voice softened slightly. Someone stood between my son and death. Someone with no obligation, no training, no reason except love. He gestured to the wings.
Emma. Luca.
Come here. Emma's stomach dropped. Adrian, I don't think. Trust me, Luca whispered, pulling her forward. They walked onto the stage. Emma felt hundreds of eyes on her. These were dangerous people. Killers. Power brokers. And she was just
Emma.
Adrian moved between them, taking both their hands. Luca on his left, Emma on his right. He lifted their joined hands high. This woman threw herself in front of bullets for my son. Adrian's voice rang out clear and absolute. She asked for nothing. Expected nothing. She simply loved him enough to die for him. The room was silent as death. From this moment forward, Emma Clark is family. She is under my protection. She is part of this empire. Adrian's eyes blazed as he scanned the crowd. Anyone who touches her, touches me. Anyone who threatens her, threatens the Russo family. And you all know what happens to people who threaten my family. No one spoke. No one moved. Adrian turned to Emma. His expression was fierce, possessive, but underneath, vulnerable. You saved the only thing in this world that matters to me. I can never repay that. But I can promise you'll never be invisible again. You'll never work 3 jobs to survive. You'll never be alone. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Adrian. You're ours now, his voice dropped so only she could hear. If you'll have us. Luca squeezed her hand, beaming up at her with absolute trust and love. Emma looked at this strange, violent, impossible family she'd stumbled into. A mafia boss with a broken heart. A disabled boy who taught her what courage meant. A world built on blood that somehow had room for her. She'd been invisible her whole life. Working, surviving, taking care of everyone else. Never chosen. Never valued. Until she danced with a lonely boy and his father decided she was worth protecting. Yes, Emma whispered. I'll stay. Adrian's hand tightened on hers. Something shifted in his eyes. Possession, yes, but also promise. The crowd erupted in applause, not polite, but powerful. An acknowledgement. An acceptance. Luca threw his arms around Emma's waist. You're really staying? Forever? Forever, Emma promised. As the crowd dispersed, as handshakes and nods of respect were exchanged, Emma stood between Adrian and Luca, their hands still linked. She'd served champagne at a wedding 4 weeks ago. Now she stood at the center of Chicago's most powerful empire, claimed by a man who'd never let her go and a boy who taught her what love really meant. Emma Clark was invisible no more. She was family. And in the Russo Empire, family was everything.